Chapter 2. The Door. The strange glowing nightingale had led them straight to the sun insignia door that Michael's mom had said they needed to find. But how did it even know? And how on earth did it fly through it? The door had a large keyhole above an egg-shaped knob. As Michael reached out to grasp the faded brass knob, he heard a clicking noise behind him. And when he spun around, his mom was pulling something out of the secret suitcase compartment. It was a large key. She studied the Destination 1 sheet again, unlocked the door, and opened it. After checking the area, she motioned for Michael to proceed and said, "Let's hurry. I'm ready to get out of this tunnel." Michael walked into a musty hallway, and his mom stepped past him, the lantern light causing their shadows to flicker across the dome-shaped rock ceiling. Michael noticed cobwebs in the corner near the entrance and asked, "Where does this creepy hallway lead to, anyway? And where did you get that key? That thing looks ancient." She pointed back where they had come from and answered, "That door is supposed to lead to a safe house, a place where we can lie low, at least for the night. It's an abandoned home that Peter set up for us. He gave us the key and some instructions just in case we were ever forced into a situation." Michael pointed at the cave wall. "Well, this would definitely classify as a situation." At the end of the hallway was another door. As they approached it, the metal heavy-duty panels and electronic keypad entry lock on it looked very out of place in this primitive tunnel. His mom lifted the Destination 1 paper. It listed instructions as to what to look for and how to use the code on the inside door. He watched closely as she typed in the 6-digit code from the paper, being sure to memorize it. 3 loud clicks erupted from the door, sending his heart into his stomach. He glanced back down the dimly lit corridor, but was grateful when there was no sign of activity. Michael's mom pushed on the heavy door to open it. On the other side of the door was a steel staircase. It was at this point that Michael was reminded of the weight of his mother's suitcase as he hefted it up the long flight of stairs. There was a regular door at the top with no lock. When they walked in, it appeared to be a panic room. He remembered seeing one in a movie once. They collapsed onto a couch and chair, and Michael sighed in relief, his mind drifting to the moment the Legion soldiers had arrived. Back at their house, his parents had been starting to tell him about why he had been trained so hard and sheltered his whole life when a flock of screeching crows, followed by the Legion soldiers, had arrived at their front door. "So what were you guys about to tell me when the Legion showed up?" he asked. His mother's gentle face took on a somber look, and she said, "Well, I guess it's time for you to know. About 16 years ago, your dad was stationed out of a base in Europe for a few years. We had been trying to have a baby, but all the doctors we saw said that we would never be able to. While we were there, your dad and I both had a dream that we needed to go to the Chalice Well at Glastonbury in England. When we approached the area near the pool from the dream, we saw a woman dressed like a princess, all in white. She had a strange golden glow all around her, and the clearest light green eyes, and called herself Nimue. I know this is going to sound crazy, but she was floating above the water." Michael couldn't believe what he was hearing. It all sounded so incredible. Was this the mysterious visitor they had mentioned to him before? He had always thought that they just made up that story, and that there was some other underlying reason behind his intense upbringing. "I didn't believe it at first either," she continued. Then she paused and lowered her head, as if what came next was hard to say. "But it was real, Michael. She gave you to us, and gave us a box, and she explained that only you would be able to unlock it and receive what is inside. We were not to tell anyone but you about meeting her or receiving the box. She called it a capsule." Michael's chest hurt and his head was spinning. "Wait a minute! So you're not my real parents? This is crazy! So my childhood has been one big lie?" Michael's mom stiffened. "Calm down, young man. Nothing that we have said or done has been a lie. We kept the full truth from you to protect you." "To protect me? How would being kept in the dark about who I am and where I came from protect me?" She grabbed his hand, her soft eyes pleading. "I'm sorry. I know you must feel betrayed right now. But we really do love you, and we did what we thought was best for you." She squeezed his hand and continued, This next part is very important. Nimue said that you were to be protected at all costs and that someday you would become a great leader and save us all. She said that the capsule would only open after your 16th birthday. She called it your anointing day, March 21st, and she said that the Legion must not find out when this actual day was. That's why we changed the day from the very beginning, as a precaution to protect you. She warned us to beware of the Legion and to avoid them at all costs, and that they would seek to destroy all that was good in the world. As soon as the United Legion came into power, we knew it was the group she had spoken of, and we adapted our plans to protect you. She looked around as if she was afraid the Legion might be lurking in the corner, and continued, Nimue also told us that the Legion had ways of discovering those individuals who had just had this very important anointing event, usually through a flock of crows. She called it a pack. That is why we were preparing to leave Lingston tonight to head west, to escape the eyes of the Legion before tomorrow. She lowered her head. But somehow the crows and the soldiers came early, and we had to use our extreme measures plan, where at least one of us has to stay behind. Her lips trembled, and she smiled at him. But you escaped safely. That's all either of us really cared about. Michael hugged her. Thanks, Mom. I understand. I know you've both sacrificed a lot for me. He felt completely overwhelmed. He was being bombarded with so many new and unexpected things. A magnificent floating princess, different biological parents, a destiny, a mysterious and powerful box. Was this all for real? Who was he and where did he belong? Michael spotted the mini kitchen in the corner and said, I'm going to see what food they have in here. You hungry? She nodded and said, You do that. I'm going to find a restroom. Michael jumped up and began looking through the cupboards. She returned within a few minutes, and Michael pointed to an open cupboard and said, Okay, looks like they have cans of stew, corn, and chili. There's some jerky and different kinds of chips and snacks. He opened the small refrigerator. And for drinks, we've got some bottled waters and various soda and juice flavors. Then a funny thought came to him, and he said, Sorry, no kale crackers or grass juice, though. His mom laughed. Nice. I'm sure your father would appreciate you filling in for him on the organic food teasing front. You've learned well from the master. She smiled, shook her head, and said, I'll take some jerky and a bottled water, please. Sarcasmo. Michael chuckled, grabbed the items along with an armload for himself, and sat down next to her. So where do we go from here? He asked in between bites. She opened the jerky and said, I believe Destination 2 is a larger safe house in Dessa, Illinois, but I need to look again to see how we get out of here. Minutes later, Michael had just finished a bag of chips and was picking up the Destination 1 paper to see if it had anything about where they needed to go, when he felt cold and then a shudder rolled through him. For a split second, an image of the Sun Insignia door appeared in his mind. It was slightly ajar. He shot up off the couch and blurted out, Mom, the outer door! I don't think we locked it. He ran back through the panic room door and down the stairs, being sure to tiptoe. He entered the code into the keypad and pulled the solid door open. The unpleasant sensation in his chest was growing, and then he heard muffled voices coming from the main tunnel. He froze and stopped breathing. As he tried to calm himself, his mind went back to a lesson his dad had taught him about not panicking. He could hear his dad's low, confident voice. Use deep breaths and focus your thoughts to gain control of any situation. Michael went through the steps and soon had his heart down to a manageable rate and his mind re-engaged. He could barely see that the outer door was open a crack, just as it had been in his vision. The voices out in the tunnel were getting louder. He was under the grip of some fear-triggered paralysis, and he strained to try to hear them. Surprisingly, their voices suddenly came through, as if they were standing right next to him. One of them sounded like the hefty sergeant from the house, but his voice was lower and had a gravelly edge to it. You better hurry and catch your breath, you slug. We need to catch them, or Rubomir will not be pleased. There was a pause, and he said, What's up with you anyway, Farstus? You look like you're about to pass out. Are you a Gadagon or some Solite weakling? A higher-pitched, squeaky voice responded. "Take it easy, Sarens. It's because we had to run to make up time after that insolent human wouldn't tell us anything. Looking at those old blueprints again was a genius idea, and that was fun busting through their wall into that stairway. Who would have thought that these Sillites would be clever enough to find a tunnel and plan a getaway? At least we got the security guy. He's the main thing Rubomir wanted anyway. The puny Freedom Alliance has no idea what we haven't." The sergeant's gravelly voice cut in. "Silence! You talk too much, you fool. Wait, it looks like their tracks go over that way. Let's..." Michael couldn't believe what was happening. They were about to find the open door, and here he was frozen at the end of the hallway. He would never get to it in time to lock it. A hopeless feeling of inadequacy swelled inside, and he felt a strange prompting to extend his hand. When he did, he could feel the deadbolt. In his mind, he was holding on to it. He pulled his hand toward him as the door slammed shut, and then he twisted as the deadbolt locked. Within a few seconds, their stalkers were pounding on the old door with great force, and it shook as if it would explode. Michael rushed to type in the code for the thick metal door and was staring down the tunnel as he prepared to enter the secure hallway. He heard a thunderous crash, and the outer door flew off its hinges and came careening down the tunnel. He quickly ran in, shut and locked the door, and ran up the stairs. He stopped midway up and jerked his head back. He had dropped the Destination 1 instruction sheet out in the hallway. How could he be such an idiot? Now they had the code to that door. He ran into the room and found his mother, who was staring in shock at the door, her hand over her mouth. He felt like he was having a panic attack. "Mom, I accidentally dropped the Destination 1 sheet down in the hallway. They have the code. What can we do?" She turned, her eyes wide. "I don't know. I know there's a secret exit in this room somewhere, but I didn't have time to study up on it. How could you leave it with them? That's the worst thing you could have done." "I don't know, Mom. I just froze, and then I must have dropped it when they broke through the outer door." The golden bird materialized above them, and Michael heard his familiar but more urgent voice in his head. "Gather your bags. Quickly. You are in danger." Michael grabbed his mother's shoulder and said, "Mom, we need to grab our bags. I can't explain. Hurry." They both loaded up, right as an explosion of heavy footsteps sounded on the stairs below. A brilliant golden dome formed around them. Millions of lighter gold-colored swimming flecks surrounded each of them, and Michael felt dizzy. Then there was an all-encompassing brightness.